Hi and welcome into the Kitchen Sink podcast where we talk about everything but the kitchen sink. Hello everyone and welcome back into the Kitchen Sink. So this is actually episode 9. God, I'm finding it hard to get comfy in this chair right now, I'm not gonna lie. This is actually episode 9. Guys, we're nearly in double figures, right? We're nearly in bloody double figures. Now, who'd have thunk that? Not me. I'm not gonna lie. Because obviously, like I've said in a prior episode, like I have tried the whole podcast thing before. Like I said, not on this level. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stick this out and come up with things to talk about. But best believe I've got a whole list of shit that I want to do episodes on, and I low key think we're kind of slaying so far. So thanks for being here. If you've been here for every single episode, oh my god, if you've been at every episode so far, if you've watched them all. I mean, first of all, make sure you give me a 5-star review. And that goes for anybody, even if you're a new listener, right? I'm just going to say that. So make sure you're giving me a review. Please, 5 stars. I'm not going to make you, but 5 stars would be great. But also, if you've been in every episode so far and you've watched them all, if you're watching on YouTube, I'd love if you could, let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, we've got a really fun, I've got a very fun episode planned for you guys today. I will just say it's going to be a filthy one, right? Straight out the gates, I am going to just preface this whole episode by saying, you guys are rotted, gutted, and disgusting, right? So if you're underage and you're relatively innocent, maybe give this one a miss. I don't know. It's completely up to you, but guaranteed it is going to be funny, right? I do think it's going to be quite a fun episode, so I'm excited to be sitting down for this one. But I did feel the need just to give you a quick disclaimer there, just in case you're not ready for the filth, right? Or if you've got someone else around that can potentially hear the episode, who knows, right? So that's that on that. But before we get into today's episode, fully what it's about and what I've got planned, I've got a few things to mention, right? So first and foremost, I want to talk about my new tattoos. So I guess let's start at the very beginning. So I've got 2 new tattoos. One's on my arm. I'm going to try and describe really well for the audio listeners, right? One's on my arm, one is on my thigh. So you're not going to be able to see my thigh tattoo. But I will have posted a vlog where I get them already on YouTube by the time you're listening to this. So if you do want to see them, check out that. But yeah, so let me describe. The story behind the first one that I got, essentially, it's a nice little koi on my arm that's kind of swimming around my arm. It's quite delicate and nice, and I did in fact design this tattoo. All of my designs I design myself. So yeah, it's a nice koi. The reason why I got a koi is basically because a week ago, when you're listening to this, my dad essentially got a koi tattoo, but his is much bigger, like it's a whole forearm piece. And it's much more hardcore, shading, all that stuff, much bigger. And the reason why he got that is because he's a fisherman. He loves fishing. That's his passion. That's his hobby, right? So he's a very fishy guy. That was interesting. But anyway, we're moving on. So I decided, because obviously most of my tattoos so far have got somewhat of a meaning or they're dedicated to somebody, that kind of thing. So I thought, I'll get a koi for my dad, because then we've kind of got matching tattoos, but his is completely different to mine. So I designed a really nice koi. That's on my arm. I'll give you a quick rundown of my other tattoos, just in case you don't know. I've got another tattoo just above that's essentially my grandma's name in her handwriting. Essentially, every Christmas card, birthday card, whatever, she writes her name the exact same way in the same lettering. And I thought that would be really cute to get tattooed. So I've decided to get that tattooed and I love it. It's maybe my favourite. So I've got her name there. Then above that, I've got my 2 butterflies, which were my first ever tattoo. And that one's got a bit more of a lengthy story, which I'm not going to go into now, but it's essentially dedicated to, one of them is my mum and one of them is my great-gran. That's those 2 there. So this arm, because they're all on the same arm, is kind of dedicated to family up to now. And then I've got my own artwork on my ribs on the opposite side. And I guess if you want to go see that, then I guess go on Instagram or something. I'm sure you'll see it. The other one I got on Tuesday is essentially a clock, and it's dripping, kind of Salvador Dali inspired, if you know of that artist. It's kind of inspired by their work. but once again, I designed it, and it's essentially like a clock with like Roman numerals and stuff, and it's like kind of dripping because now this is going to sound super, super wanky, but basically it has my birth time on it. That was the time that I chose to obviously have on the clock. And the wanky meaning that I kind of gave to it was like the concept of as soon as you're born, time is only like moving forward and you're only losing time almost. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure if that's kind of a morbid thing, but for me, it's more of a reminder just to kind of like live life to the fullest, because realistically, the one thing you can't get back is time. Like, that's constantly moving. So that was my vibe for the second one, and I absolutely love that, and that's on my thigh. So yeah, that was the first thing I wanted to mention, is that I got some tattoos. The second thing I wanted to mention is last night, me and my sister went to watch Rock of Ages, the musical. And I've got some mixed opinions, right? So first and foremost, it started off a bit rocky for me because I'm not going to give much away just in case any of you go and watch it. But I also didn't choose to go watch it. Like my sister had the tickets because her and her friend were meant to go, but because of the snow, her friend had to pull out. So she asked me if I wanted to go, and it was like a free ticket. So I was like, oh, why not? Gets me out of the house. So I went. And I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, to be quite honest, because musicals, they're a little bit cringy for me. Sometimes they try a bit too hard, and I thought that was going to be the case with this one, because if you've not seen the movie is quite over the top and like somewhat comedic in places and a little bit try hard, but it's a great movie, and I really do like the movie. So I was hoping they were going to try and like kind of stay pretty true to the movie and like try not to make it into a real cheese fest. And I will say it kind of started off on a rocky road. So they had this narrator guy that we didn't really need a narrator, but I guess for people that didn't know the story already, then maybe it was helpful. But the accent that he put on was nothing like the character in the movie or anything. And it was just super fucking grating on me, and it was kind of irritating. So that was the first thing that I was a bit like, oh, God. So then at the very beginning, me and my sister kind of looked at each other like, oh, bloody hell, is this going to be like 2.5 hours of just pure cheese? And am I going to want to rip my fucking eyeballs out my skull? So that was the beginning. But I will say, what saved the show for me, because don't get me wrong, the choreography was decent. It was relatively the same kind of all the way through. Like, there was a lot of like the same kind of vibe in choreography, and like the same moves were like kind of repeated a lot. And obviously because I'm a dancer and a choreographer, like that kind of thing I do pick up on. I know most people wouldn't, but me and my sister were very much like that. So the choreography was good, but it did get a bit repeaty for me, especially into the second half. The first half was better because for like choreography, because it was like new, and it was like, oh, like this is like a fun twist on the choreography, and like they were kind of serving that, especially the girls' choreography. So that was great. But then, obviously in the second half, it kind of got a bit monotonous, so that kind of fell off a little bit for the second half. But something that saved the show for me and my sister, like she kind of agreed, was that the main two people they have that play the main love interest people, in the movie, it's Julianne Hough and I don't know the actor's name, but Julianne Hough is the leading female. The two that they had cast for that were fucking perfect and absolutely incredible singers, but also like not cringy actors either. A lot of the acting was a little bit cringy in places, but I just find that in general with musical theatre, like it's a bit too over the top. And I do kind of understand, because obviously you are on stage, so I get it, I do understand. But it is a bit cringy for me. And that's just one thing that I just like struggle with. But the two main people in it were not cringy whatsoever. They were comedic, and it was really being pulled off well. Like, they weren't over the top comedic. And both of them were incredible singers, like some of the best singers I'd heard. I won't lie. So that was great. The last thing that really pissed me off and like kind of turned me off from the whole thing was that all the men, other than the leading one, all the men in this fucking thing were short as fuck. And like all the women were in heels, and like they weren't the shortest of women. And obviously I understand it doesn't necessarily matter, but from a viewing standpoint, for example, if you've not seen the movie, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a lowdown as to like part of the story. So there's meant to be this character in it called Stacey Jax, and he's essentially meant to be like this rock and roll guy. Tom Cruise plays him in the movie. He's meant to be like really intimidating and like a sex god almost of like rock and roll. And he's meant to be able to like overpower women and like they're meant to just like swoon, right? That's kind of the vibe. There was a lot of like very stereotypical stuff in there, but I mean, that's what it is. It's an old story, so it is what it is. But yeah, so he's meant to be this like over the top, like beautiful sex god, right? And the person they had cast, don't get me wrong, like he had abs, he had great arms, like he was muscular, but he was, guys, I'm not even over exaggerating. He was so super fucking short, and they had him in this god awful wig. And yeah, it was just not the vibe for me. And the reason why it was like, it kind of took me out of it was because the leading female, she was like relatively tall for her, like a female, and she was wearing heels, like pretty high heels. So like there was a point where like she was fully bending her knees like a lot, and she was still only like face height with him. Like, and she was bending a lot, people. But that kind of rang true for the whole thing. Like, all the men in it were just so super short. Like, I'm telling you now, there wasn't anybody in that show, like, especially like the important characters, that was maybe more than 5'8". And these women were like tall women in heels that were probably hitting like 6'1" even. And I'm not coming for short people. I'm just saying, like, perspective-wise, when you're a performer and it's a performance, it often helps to have the men be a little bit taller than women. And obviously, like, I've been in auditions, I've been to castings and stuff, I know how it works. They do tend to want the men taller than women. Like, they'll look for maybe, like, the peak height for women is maybe between 5'5" and 5'7", whereas usually for men, if they're looking for, like, taller end women, especially, like, if they're looking for 5'7", 5'8", they'll go 6'1" for men. That's just how it is in theatre. And that's mainly because, like, unless you're meant to have, obviously, a specifically short character, but that wasn't the case with the show. Especially for Stacey Jax. Everyone else I could get on board with, but Stacey Jax and how short he was, it did kind of irritate me because I was like, this is just not hitting the same. And his wig was really, really bad. And the way he walked was weird too. But anyway, overall, I didn't hate the show as much as I thought I was going to. And I actually quite enjoyed it. But the main reason why was because the two main people, they saved it for sure. The men's choreography wasn't as good as the females, that's for sure. There was some sickening female dancers in there. I actually knew two of the male dancers, but yeah. So that's what I got up to last night, and I thought I'd give you a quick rundown. But if you are to go watch it, I definitely would go watch it, because I think this is like the farewell tour, and it's definitely worth the watch just for the leading characters, like especially the main two, because oh my god, their vocals are like incredible. But yeah, that's been 15 minutes that didn't need to be 15 minutes. So I hope you're still with me. Now let's get into the juice and the filth, right? So in today's app, my plan is to essentially read through a lot, because I got sent a lot of your guys' confessions, completely anonymous, right? So I don't know who sent these in. There's no way of me checking. It's completely anonymous. And yeah, loads and loads and loads of you sent in confessions, and we're going to read through some because I've screenshotted a load. And guys, they are filthy. They really are. So if you're with your parents or they're in close proximity, maybe come back to this one a little bit later. But yeah, I guess let's get into the confessions. Okay, so the whole preface of this, like, episode is I'm going to read through these confessions, like, very much like we're in one of those confessional booths, right? I'm going to be the priest on one side, you guys are going to be the other person on the other side, and it's going to be very, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, that kind of vibe. And I'm going to basically tell you if you're a shit human after I read this, and we kind of dissect them, right? That's my whole plan. It's either... There's one of two things. I can either forgive you and I see the reasoning, or I don't blame you for doing something, or you're a shit person. So This is completely satire, by the way. Don't take any of this like serious. I don't actually think any of you are shit people. It's just a fun idea, right? So I guess with that said, let's kick off with a bang, right? The first one I received, guys, this was the first fucking confession. Oh my God. Now I've had people DM me this stuff before, and it's always weird, but the first person wrote, Loki had a wank over some of your photos. Whoa. Now, this is the thing. I was going to say this is maybe a confession that you should have kept to yourself. But I mean, why not, right? There's no way of me checking who sent it. You wouldn't be the first person to have told me this, but I do think it's very odd to tell someone that. I don't think, have I done that to anyone? Unless it's like nudes that someone sent me. I haven't like gone onto their Instagram and obviously like, but I guess not everyone posts what I post on Instagram. So there is that. But you know what? Like, I don't think you're a shit person. Absolutely. I mean, whatever works, right? Whatever works for you. I accept it and I thank you and I'm flattered. Okay. So that's brilliant. So yeah, I don't think you're a shit person. I think the opposite. But I don't live, but like, thanks, you know? So next one. Since I was 14 years old, I have the desire to get, oh, here we go, guys. Dirty, dirty, filthy. Since I was 14 years old, I have the desire to get fucked and bred by many men. But STDs force me to be really careful, but I wish I didn't have to. So, I mean, this isn't too bad. You're just saying that you've got a fantasy to be like, essentially a cum dump, right? That is essentially where we're at with this confession. And that's a completely natural thing. A lot of gays actually, even listening to this, a load of gays are actually nodding their head saying, yeah, I can get on board with that. I actually agree with that. I actually am also into that. Now, don't get me wrong. It was never my judge, even back in the day when I was like a bottom. I've never really been one to just be into that sort of thing. Like, I'm more like one-on-one, done. And like after one, I'm done, you know? But I know some gays, they can go for hours. They can go. They like it baggy, you know? Like, and I also, oh wait, since you were 14, fucking hell. I mean, I guess that is kind of young, but also a lot of people like these days are losing their virginity around 14, 15 years old. So you wouldn't be on your own, I'm sure. But fuck me up. Since you were 14, you're wanting people to do that. But I mean, you've not done it. And you know that obviously STDs and stuff, they do fly around. So you've got your head screwed on correct. And I mean, I'm glad you didn't do it at 14. That wouldn't have been great. And I also do just think, like, for your first time, it's definitely good just to know, I mean, try and have it be, who am I to say? But in my opinion, for your first time, I think it's quite important to try and have it be a meaningful experience. That's just my own opinion, though. But no, I don't think you're a shit person. I think you get a pass. That's what we'll say. We'll say you either get a pass or you're a shit person, okay? Next one. I have a wrestling fetish and have semi-regular matches with a friend's dad. Now, you're not a shit person. But I almost think your friend's dad is a shit person. Now, I don't know if shit person's the right thing, but that's what we've got, right? That's the language I'm using for this podcast. There's a problem here. And it's not with you. It's with your friend's dad. Does he know you've got a wrestling fetish? And what's the clothing situation? See, this is the only thing with these obviously short confessions. I want backstory. I really, really do. Because I'd like to know what the clothing situation is. I'm hoping you're fully clothed and it's just like a play fight, you know? But even then, a friend's dad, that's weird. That's real weird. Like, even your own dad, that's kind of weird. And also, I'm just thinking, like, how old are you? Like, imagine, like, you're like a 22-year-old person, like, or even me, like, I'm a 24-year-old man. Imagine me going over to my friend's house, and his dad just like is like, "Want to wrestle?" Whoa! Like roughhousing me. No, thank you, friend's dad. So no, I don't think you're not a shit person. You get a pass although I don't know how old you are. I think the friend's dad is almost a shit person because that's weird. You know? That's not regular, like, etiquette for a friend's dad and the friend's friend. And the friend, even. Yeah? Oh, God, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, God. Oh, God. Now, some of these I'm sorry, these have got to be a lie. The next person's put, freshman year of college, so I don't know how old that is. I fucked a hot young priest during confession. I mean, it's fitting. It's very fitting for this episode. But that's got to be not real. Like, some of these, I do think some of you guys are just chatting bare shit. Because they're so out of this world. I don't imagine a scenario in which that happens. But I mean, who knows? You're American for sure, because you said freshman year. We don't say that in the UK. And I know that they say that in America. So you're definitely American. And I mean, churches, they can be corrupt sometimes. And I mean, you know what? I hope you are both consenting adults. And I mean, you get a pass from me. Like, that's totally fair. Wild, though. I mean, it's kind of hot. Not gonna lie. It's kind of hot. Like, I'm sure there's some porn out there that's like to do with like a priest and like someone, and it's like a confession. There's got to be, and if not, come on, get on it. Men.com, get on it, right? Pornhub, get on it, please, because I'd like to see something, you know? So yeah, you get a pass for that, because I almost think that's kind of hot. As long as you were... Wait, I need to research how old you are in freshman year, right, before I say anything. How old are you in freshman year of college? You're around 18 years old. I think you get a pass, okay? Next one. I like to have virtual sex with random strangers. So, I mean, what is virtual sex? I guess just wanking off. I don't think that's that bad. The strangest thing, though, a lot of people do that because, like, you don't know them. And I mean, as long as you're not showing your face. Now, if you're showing your face, I don't know about that. That's a bit risky. Like, if I were you, like, I'd prop up that phone, I'd shoot from the neck down just to be safe, because you never know. Like, these strangers could be screen recording. We don't know. Oh, I hope they're not. This is what I mean, though. Some of y'all are real fucking kinky bastards, but you know what? We live. It's the gays, man. The gays. Anyway, next one. When I was a flight attendant, I joined the Mile High Club with several hot passengers, especially on my red-eye flights when most passengers were asleep. I think that's hot. I don't know what happened with my throat there. That's kind of sexy. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you could get fired, I should imagine, because I imagine there's somewhere in the contract, like, no sex with passengers. Like, I'm sure that's an entry somewhere. So, I mean, I'm sure you could get fired, so maybe just be really careful. But I'm not about to sit here and say, why are you doing that? I mean, if they want it, and... Oh, the only thing is, though, you're on the fucking job. You're meant to be... I was going to say you're meant to be providing a service, and I mean, I'm sure you were. You know, I'm sure you were. But this is what I mean. Like, some of y'all are wild. Maybe this is why all the gays are becoming flight attendants. Maybe I'm onto something. Interesting. But no, I mean, you get a pass, but I'd just be careful. Just try not to get fired. My aunt's new boyfriend is either gay and not out or bisexual because we've fooled around multiple times. He's so hot and closer to my age anyway. Okay, you're a shit person. That's for sure. This is the first one where I definitely think you're a shit person. I think there should be a certain level of respect for your auntie. And maybe not fooling around with her significant other. But I mean, I'm not blaming you here. I'm also blaming him because realistically, he's the one in the relationship. So you're not necessarily the one doing anything wrong. The reason why I still say you're a shit person is because it's your auntie. Surely we're supposed to like our aunties and maybe not want to fool around with their partners. I think that's almost a given. I don't know, because you got to think, if they get married, he's then your uncle. You're going to have fooled around with your uncle. And I don't know how I feel about that. He's so hot and closer to my age anyway. I don't think that helps the matter. Whether he's close to your age or not, he's still your auntie's fucking fella. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, like I said, it's not your fault as much as it is his. But I'm just questioning the morals, right? So yeah, I will just say I think you're a shit person. But okay, next. I went from Australia and went to work in America. It was 2016 and I was 21 years old and got drunk at work. I not only got fired, but I got deported. Not sure if I'm allowed back in the country now. I'm burping, sorry. Now, the thing is, this one's hard to say whether I give you a pass or if you're a bad person because you've not actually said if you remember what you did. And I mean, you got drunk at work. See, I was first of all thinking, was this like a work do situation? Was everyone kind of getting tipsy? But then now I'm thinking, wait, did you just go to work and get drunk? Like during the day? Because that maybe wasn't the smartest idea, right? But getting deported for that's fucking ridiculous. That's too far if you ask me. I don't think anyone's that... I mean, the thing is, it depends what you did. It really depends what you did. But what are they allowed to deport you for? Like, I don't really know the rules behind the whole deporting thing. Like, can they deport you for whatever reason they want? Or, like, is it like, do you have to have done something pretty severe to get deported? I'd imagine it's one of those things where it's like, you've done something real bad. But I'm assuming, like, they obviously fired you, but then obviously must have got the authorities involved. So I'm thinking it's something really severe here, actually. But now you don't know if you're allowed back in America. Fucking hell, that's brutal. But like I said, it's kind of hard to say whether I give you a pass on this one or if I think you're a shit person. Because, I mean, you're not necessarily a shit person for going to work and getting drunk. I'd say you're stupid. I'd say you're a bit thick. Because that's maybe not the best idea. Like, I don't think I'd personally do that if I was working somewhere. But I don't think you're a shit person for that. Maybe I'd be saying something different if I knew what you did to get deported. Because I'm imagining it's something pretty bad. So this one's kind of up in the air. Who knows? Next one, let's continue on this fucking wild ride. I'm very gay. Also, my best friend of 6 years left because his boyfriend started flirting with me. He's still with him, by the way. Okay, so this is also not your fault. So you're definitely not the shit person in this scenario. Your fucking friend is. The fuck? So, but, see, this is another one of those situations, though. Did you entertain the flirting? I feel like there's an element of leaving certain things out here. That's what I'm thinking, right? Did you or did you not entertain the flirting? Because if you entertained it and were kind of like flirting back, then you're a shit person. But I also still think that your mate's a shit person, because why would you not just... Why are you leaving your mate, but you'll stay with your boyfriend? Because, like, if your boyfriend's going to flirt with one of your closest friends, do you really think that he's going to stop there? No. Like, I'm seeing, like, him going out, doing the same thing to strangers, like, in a nightclub. He's going to cheat on you, right? That's a given, I think. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the friend might not be a shit person per se, but I think, like, if they were gonna leave, like, sack off the fucking mate, I also think they should have probably sacked off the boyfriend, because realistically, like, your best friend, although they might have fucked up, because I mean, I don't know if you entertained the flirting. If you didn't entertain the flirting, then why the fuck should fob you off, but not fob the boyfriend off is beyond me. Then she's just stupid once again. I mean, he, I don't fucking know what it is. But yeah, bit of a stupid situation. I almost think I need a bit more information because I'm not sure. If you entertained the flirting from the guy, I'm assuming it's a guy. Yeah, you put him. If you entertained the flirting from the guy, you're a shit person, as well as your mate being stupid. If you didn't, then she's just stupid, or he's just stupid, or they're just stupid, right? The boyfriend in this scenario is a piece of shit. I think that's pretty evident, okay? Oh, so the next one is actually a question and a confession that someone wants me to answer. So I did screenshot a few of these because I thought that was an interesting way of kind of breaking this up, so it's not all about me judging you guys. A few people did ask me to confess certain stuff. So someone put, who was your first kiss? And I mean, I've got no qualms in telling you, to be honest. And I'll tell you his name. I'm not going to tell you his second name, even though like I tried to search him on Instagram and stuff and Facebook and I couldn't find him. I'm not sure if it's because I blocked him. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I couldn't find him. But my first kiss was actually with my first boyfriend. And his name was Tom. And I was 17, almost 18 when I had my first kiss. So to all of those out there, like, because I know there is some people, and I'm pretty sure I screenshotted some confessions that are kind of worried about this. To those people that are like worried about the timing of things, like the time frame of like having their first kiss, like their first time obviously doing bits with people. To that, I just say like, everyone's timing is different. It'll happen when it'll happen. Don't force it. Obviously, unless you really want to and you just want to get it out the way, then fair enough. Try and see to it that it happens. But I would just urge you to try and make sure that it's a safe environment. Don't put yourself into any sort of weird scenario just to try and get that done. Like you might want to fulfill that. Do you know what I mean? But you want it to be safe. And you also want it to be good. Like, there's only one time to have your first time at these things. So you don't want it to be shit. So give yourself the best chances of having it be a good experience, would be my advice in that situation. Not that anyone asked, but there you go. And yeah, my first kiss was my first ex. He ended up cheating on me. He's called Tom. Yeah. I won't give his second name just because I don't want people to find him and then give him abuse, even though I won't mind so much. I wouldn't care that much, but yeah. He's a piece of shit, guys. We all know. All right? Cheaters. I mean, I wouldn't say all cheaters are pieces of shit, per se. Oh, wait, my sink's wonky. 1 minute. Oh, there we go. Sorry if you were watching and thinking, Brad, why's your sink wonky? Sorry about that. I've changed it. I don't think all cheaters are pieces of shit, but I think some are, for sure. Especially if you've cheated on someone and then obviously they find out and then you still try to gaslight, gatekeep, not girl boss, but act as though you didn't do it and not apologize, then I think you're a piece of shit. I think if someone finds out that you've cheated, fair enough, you've done it, it wasn't great. But also I do think if they find out, the decent thing for you to do then in that situation is to not gaslight them and come clean, tell them what they want to know, and just take the consequences, I guess, because it's your actions. Take the consequences for your actions because at the end of the day, you did do it. Don't lie still just because you don't want to look like a bad person. That would be my thing. If you lie, you're a shit person. If you come clean and you just got found out, there it is. You're not a bad person. Do you have trust issues? I do. Now, I don't know as to what level anymore, because realistically it's been nearly 5 years since my last relationship. But I will say, because of everything that I've been through in relationships, and if you want to hear all about that, there is a podcast episode about relationships, and I go into major detail about all my relationships and what happened. So if you want to know all about that, there is that. So I'm not going to go into depth here. But because of all the things I went through in my 3 relationships that I've had, I definitely do have trust issues, I imagine. I think that's it's kind of inevitable when you've been cheated on, that's going to happen. So yeah, I definitely have trust issues because I've been cheated on. But then also, people don't really talk about this, but even just getting your heart broken, someone deciding suddenly that they don't want to be with you, I feel like that also can give you trust issues, because it's just like, my mind went from like, obviously him saying that he didn't want to be with me when we just had like a wonderful day and like there was no like red flags or anything going amiss or anything like that. My mind then goes to, Oh, and then on top of that, they also give you some shit reasons as to why they don't want to be with you, right? That's bullshit and double standards and all that stuff. On top of that, my mind then goes to like, oh, I wonder if they were actually speaking to other people or even sleeping with other people and I just didn't find out, right? Now, part of me would love to find out and just like ask them, because I do still not have them on social media, but I haven't blocked them. So, I mean, part of me would love to just message them and ask them on the off chance that they'd tell me. But then also part of me just thinks like, whatever I don't know, don't hurt me. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that would make me feel better about the situation. So, long story short, yes, I do have trust issues. Like I said, I'm not sure to what capacity now, because I have changed a lot since 2019, 2018. I was just about to say, what's that noise? There's a woman outside in the corridor fucking hoovering. So 1 minute, let me just shut my door so you can't hear her. But yeah, so I'd like to think with all the work that I've put into myself over the past few years, I would like to think that they're not as bad or not really there. The thing is, now I know more about like the red flags. I know what I'll stand for and I know what I don't, and I've got more respect for myself. So I'm hoping that does mean that when I get into my next relationship, whenever that may be, that it's going to be a totally different situation and a much more healthy environment. That's my hope. But yeah. Ooh, this one is an umdinger. Okay, so someone's put, this is the next confession, I could turn you straight with my tight pussy. Now, I don't know if that's a confession or that's like a bet, you know? You've not really confessed anything. You're more just bragging about it. You're more just bragging about your tight poo nanny. Which, I mean, you know what? Fair play to you. There's no real, like, giving you a pass or being a shit person in this situation. It's just what someone thinks. Okay, this one's an umdinger, but it's not in the way of, like, relationships and sexy stuff and dirty, right? So, the next one's put, once I accidentally pushed my brother and he smashed his head open. He didn't need stitches, but I told him that if he didn't tell our parents, when we were older, I would buy him the newest Nintendo that comes out. I still haven't to this day, and he has a scar on his head, and our parents still think he fell in school. You're a shit person, right? Buy him the fucking Nintendo. I think it's the least you can do. Or, if not, I'd urge your brother to tell your parents now. Because I'd be like, I'm sorry, Mum and Dad. I'm sorry I didn't tell you back in the day, but let me just tell you right now. Jack actually pushed me, and that's what cracked my head open, right? And do you want to know what else? He bribed me into not telling you. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be urging him to tell the parents. I mean, not that it's going to really change much now, because I imagine they're not going to be as angry with you now as they would have been. But I still think you're a shit person. I just think, especially when it comes to your siblings, if you say you're going to do something, just do it. I don't think that's a hard ask, right? Buy him the fucking Nintendo. He upheld his end of the bargain. You uphold yours, right? And that's that. Unless you're a shit person, right? I have more success when I'm cross-dressed. In brackets, yes, I sleep with more straight men than gay ones. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because I reckon these straight men that you're getting with, I'd imagine they're probably the kind of men that maybe do have somewhat of like internalized homophobia or aren't comfortable with their sexuality, and obviously they feel more comfortable obviously doing that act with someone that appears more in a feminine way, but obviously still has the same parts as them, you know? I think that's a pretty common thing, I'd imagine. Now, I've never really experienced that, but I don't imagine that's unheard of, right? And yeah, I don't think you're a shit person or that you need to get a pass or anything. It's just what it is, isn't it? But I mean, you must look hot cross-dressed, tell you that. Anyway, next one. Lost my virginity with a guy friend my first time at a gay sauna. See, what is crazy to me is that some of you whores are going to gay saunas for your first time. That is wild. I mean, fair play to you. You've got big cojones, right? You've got bigger cojones than I. Like, I personally would not dare go to a gay sauna in the hopes of losing my virginity. There would be no way on God's green earth. Like, that would just scare me way too much. Like, I was scared and nervous for my first time, and that was with a boyfriend. Or like, I don't know if we were actually in a relationship yet, but it was someone that I could see a relationship happening with. Now, I know people are very different, so I'm not coming at this from like a judgmental standpoint. Like, you do whatever you feel comfortable with. Absolutely. But that is wild that you lost your virginity. I mean, at least you lost your virginity. At least you lost your virginity to a friend, though. It wasn't just some random stranger that you met at this gay sauna. I'm glad you didn't go on your own, and I'm glad you lost your virginity to a friend. So it was someone at least you were familiar with. It's just like, and I guess maybe like if you were still living with your parents, both of you, like maybe that would be a safe place for you to go and do that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm not judging, but that's crazy to me. So yeah, I mean, you get a pass. It is what it is. I slept with one of my best friends, even though I know my other best friend has a huge crush on her. By the way, we are all girls. You're a shit person. You're a shit person. I'm sorry. You are a shit person. You're a shit friend, right? I understand, obviously, like, if the vibe's there, go with the flow. But I also think, like, you know your friend fancies this person. There is literally, is it like, what, 8 billion people now on this earth? Could you not have just picked some fucker else? Like, did you really have to go there with someone you know your friend fancies? I'm sorry, I'm finding it hard not to think you're a shit person. I really am. That's really tough, and I feel bad for your friend. I really do. I hope you're going to tell your friend, so then your friend isn't going to mug herself off. Because I think that would be even worse. If you've like slept with this other person, and then you don't tell your friend, and you still let them like go on fancying them and all this stuff, that's so shit. Especially like, I hope it was like a one-time thing on your end. I hope it was a one-time thing and you don't plan on doing it again. Because if you continue to do it, that's even worse. And if you're going to continue to do it and you can see something happening with this person, then you've got to tell your friend. Otherwise, you're a real shit person. If you tell your friend, you'll redeem yourself a bit. But otherwise, I'm sorry, you're a shit person. See, the next one's one of those things. It's, I'm 19 and still haven't had my first kiss. Babes, that's totally fine. I understand that there is this pressure, and it's like a societal pressure that's kind of placed upon young people to be feeling like they need to be doing it at a younger age, and that they need to tick these boxes off before a certain time. And let me just tell you, that's bullshit, right? From experience, being someone who, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, did do some of these things later, because I was 17, almost 18. Like, that's relatively late these days. Like, I know some people that are fucking and sucking at like 15 years old, which I'm not condoning that at all, because that's below the age that you should be doing that. Like, that isn't, and also like, you're not developed. Like, there's a load, it's just so icky, right? We're not getting into any of that. Yeah. At 19, I really don't think you need to worry. I really don't. I think you need to focus on just making yourself happy. And when that time comes, it'll come. Don't worry about it. I know that's really easy for me to say. Don't worry about it. The thing is, it's not a big of a deal. It's not as big of a deal as you may think. Like, everyone, I feel like, makes it out to be this life-changing thing, and like, you've not lived until you've done it. But let me just tell you right now, like, yes, it's great. Some of this stuff is great, like kissing, whatever, it's great. But it's not going nowhere. And it's not life-altering. So don't put pressure on yourself. Let it happen. Make sure you're in a safe environment, that kind of thing. Oh my God, this one killed me. And guys, I've actually got receipts for this next one. So this next one, I actually do know who sent it in, but that's only because they outed themselves, right? So the next one is, your Builder Brad post, I printed out, built with Brad, so he moves and bejeweled his dick. Honestly, this isn't even a secret. He's hanging from my window and he sparkles in the sunshine. Now, I've got the picture. This woman, this lady, right? She sent it me. And you know what? I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's great. I was so impressed that you went to that effort. And I mean, iconic. The post was there to build. And you know what? You took initiative and you did in fact build, right? But the fact that you have it hanging from your window, in the picture, you've got it like on your piano, I think. But the fact that you said you had it hanging from your window, that's iconic, that is. That right there is what I aspire to be. Right? So I say, well done. I congratulate this behavior. Right? It's a brilliant confession. And thank you for sharing that, because I'm really glad I know that. Okay? The next one. This is another one of those sibling things. I know this isn't too bad, but when I was 10/11, I broke my mum's favourite vase. And I blamed it on my brother. She properly yelled at him and I still let him take the rap for it. To this day, she still thinks it was him and makes snide remarks to him about it from time to time. I feel bad. You should feel bad. You should feel bad. I'm sorry. Now, I'm sure there's stuff that I've let my sisters take a rap for, and I'm sat here judging you, right? But from up here on my pedestal, right, you are a shit person. But realistically, I will just say, I'm saying you're a shit person, but realistically, why would you change it now? You know, like, why would you come clean now, actually? If I'm thinking, like, in, like, a snide way, why would you come clean? Why would you bring yourself grief? When they've taken it, they've taken the brunt of it, it is what it is. I reckon it is one of those things, though, that, like, and I'm talking later on in life, like, you're an adult yourself, you've maybe got kids, you're married. It's one of those things that I think would be really interesting to bring up later in life. Like, imagine, like, 30 years down the line, you're like, oh yeah, mum, by the way, remember that when we were kids? It was actually me. Like, that almost is quite funny to me. So, low-key, I know I said the other person that had pushed his brother or something, I know I told him that he's a shit person, but now I'm always thinking, why bother? Why give yourself the grief? Like, he's already taken the rap. It is what it is. But realistically, though, it's interesting to me that he didn't just tell her, because you didn't even, like, promise him anything or anything. Like, what? Like, if that were me, I'd be like, Mum, why are you shouting at me? It was him. You know? Anyway, this next one. I was relieved that I didn't have to tell my granny I was bi when she died. Do you know what? You're not a shit person, because some family members and stuff like that, you just kind of know that they maybe aren't going to be the most accepting, or it's going to be a difficult situation to try and navigate. So I'm not going to say you're a shit person, because realistically, you didn't wish for them to die so that you didn't have to tell them. It just happened so that she died, and it just meant that you didn't have to tell her. And I mean, if it meant that you didn't have as much grief and aggro and didn't have as much of a tough coming out, then who am I to judge that, you know? The thing is, you're not relieved that she's dead. You're relieved that it just meant that you didn't have to tell her something that would have been difficult or cause you pain, you know? Now, if you were saying that you're relieved that she died, which I mean, you kind of are telling me that you're relieved that she died when she did. I still think I'm going to give you a pass, but it's a wavering pass. Anyway, I did some sexting. I hate that word, sexting. I did some sexting. I should have been reading these in an accent, shouldn't I? I did some sexting with a dude I met on Twitter. It all started with him asking for permission to send me dick pics, but only if I wanted them, because otherwise there was no point for him. I thought it was kind of cute and ended up turning me on. After the orgasm, I blocked him everywhere. You're not a shit person. I'm sure I've done the same. And that's it. That's the beginning and the end of it. You're not a shit person. Loads of people do that. If it helped, it helped. You're a bit of a shit person maybe just for just blocking him straight after. But I mean, he was just some random guy that you met on Twitter. It's kind of shit because I'm sure he was like, what the fuck? What happened? Like, what did I do? So that is kind of shit. But I don't know. But the thing is that there is, post-nut clarity. That is a real thing. And they can make you do stupid things. Like, I won't be surprised if soon enough, when you H word again, I won't be surprised if you fucking unblock, get back in contact. Would not be surprised one bit. It's a post-nut clarity, guys. That's what it is. So I won't say you're a shit person, but I also don't give you a pass. That one's kind of in the middle for me. Okay, this next one's very interesting to me. Me, my mum, and grandma once chased the woman my dad's been cheating with around town. She used to be my mum's childhood friend, knew he was married, and had a child. We ended up cornering her in the parking garage. My grandma slapped her across the face and threatened to glue her flaps together. Now, first of all, your grandma seems real scary. I'm not sure if I'd like your granny. She seems very scary and brutal. I would like to know what you did with your dad, though. I hope you gave him as much of a bad time. The thing is, if she didn't, I'd be saying something different if she didn't know that he was married, had a kid, that whole thing. But obviously, because she did, that's an added layer. Because, I mean, back to me being cheated on, the guy that my ex cheated on me with was a boy that I was really good friends with in school, and he knew that I was with this boy, and I hate his guts. So, because of that, I feel like I kind of empathize a bit, and I understand. I don't know if I agree with you granny slapping her around the face and threatening to glue her flaps together. I mean, that at least she just threatened. She didn't actually do it. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I can kind of see why you'd be pissed off. And I mean, I don't even know about the whole chasing around the town. Because, like, hate someone from a distance. Like, you don't need to fucking torture them. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you are a shit person. I think your granny's a bit of a shit person. I'm not going to lie. Your granny's a bit of a shit person. The thing is, I'd need more backstory because I hope you've, like, done the same, if not worse. I think worse to your dad. Like, I hope you're giving him a fucking hard time because he's the one in the relationship. He's the one who is a dad, you know? So he better be being treated worse. I'll say that. Let her know that you're pissed off, but I don't think you necessarily needed to go to those lengths. That's where I'm at with that one. Your grandma's definitely a shit person. You guys are a shit person because realistically, did you need to chase her around and, like, kind of make her day a living hell? I guess you did kind of ruin your family, but also it wasn't just her doing it. It takes two to tango, right? That's where I'm at with that one. Next one, I regret coming out because I think it was just a phase. Babes, you get a pass, it happens. Right? It's just one of those things. It happens to people. You think you're going through something and it's going to stick. Sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. These things happen. You're not a shit person for thinking that. You got to be true to yourself at the end of the day. Right? Who am I to tell someone to live unauthentically because if not, they're going back on something they said prior. Okay. I'm maybe going to do one or two more because we are really. I've been recording this for an hour, and I think around an hour is fine. Like, this could easily get monotonous, right? So I'm just going to try and find some good ones. This one's a good one. Okay, it's disgusting. As a kid, I would bite my toenails, and one day I thought it'd be really funny to put them in the cupcakes my little brother was baking. Well, he ate it and had to get a 3-inch toenail surgically removed from his digestive tract. You're a shit human. First and foremost, yeah, you are. That is disgusting. It makes me uneasy. And I think it's ridiculous that you let him eat it, knowing your toenails were in there, and that realistically, toenails and nails in general, they're sharp. They can hurt things. You're a shit person. I think that's all that needs to be said, to be honest. And there's literally no redeeming factor here. Like, this person hasn't even said that they feel bad about it. Right? How do we know that that couldn't have gone real south real quick? You know, like that could have gone much worse. Fucking hell. We're all secretly waiting for you to start a spicy Twitter page and show spicy content. Guys, I'm not going to lie, I used to have a page like that, all that stuff. It just wasn't fulfilling me. It felt icky. It wasn't for me. It didn't really suit my personality because I think although my personality maybe online seems like that, it's not that. Like I'm not that kind of person. I just didn't enjoy it. I really didn't enjoy it. It just felt really seedy and weird, and like I was always worried about my family finding out and people finding out, and it was just not fun. It wasn't fun at all. So that's not going to be happening. On top of that, actually, I got basically, why not? Let's talk about it. Last thing that I'll talk about. So this morning, I got a message, like a DM on Instagram from a boy that I spoke to a little bit the other day. And he decided to randomly send me like explicit pictures. And I have a real issue with people randomly sending me explicit pictures, right? Just saying. It kind of pisses me off, but I guess it is what it is. So this boy sent me explicit pictures to which I didn't reply. I didn't engage, right? And then he had the nerve to almost try and turn it around on me. So he sent me the first photo. I just like double tapped it because I was like, I'm not engaging with this, but also I didn't want to be a wanker. Did that. Then he sent me another worse one, right? Which I just didn't reply. And then he obviously replied, sorry. And then he was like, did I do something wrong? Like, why did you unfollow me? I was just trying to flirt, I guess. And I was like, that's so funny how flirting these days is now considered sending naked and explicit pictures to someone. That to me it's nothing. That does nothing for me. It's not flirting. It's not enjoyable. I didn't ask for it, you know. I'm okay. And then he just was trying to be like cheeky, I guess. And there's cheeky pics on your Instagram. So I don't know. I just got the wrong vibe. Can we start fresh? And I've not replied. So suddenly it's my fault for portraying myself in a light that he deems explicit and overly sexual. That it's my fault that he decided to take it upon himself to send me explicit photos when we'd not spoken about anything remotely that. And it was very much out of the blue. Like it was hours after our last message. That mindset pisses me off. I've said it, and I've said it plenty of times. Just because someone portrays themselves a certain way on social media doesn't mean that warrants a certain reaction from people. And it also doesn't mean that you have the right to almost make it out that it's their fault if you do take it there. Don't do it. It's gross. If I ask for it and I allude to that, sure, by all means. But don't. I'm okay. Thank you. And I guess that's the end of this episode. Weird ending, but I feel good having got that off my chest, I won't lie. Just be mindful, guys, when you're sending explicit pics, like, especially unsolicited. Like, it's fucking annoying. It really gets annoying and grating and irritating. Like, social media these days is getting real vapid, and there's a real lack of genuine conversation and people actually wanting to get to know each other, right? That's just my opinion. But with that said, I am going to leave this episode here. Sorry for this slight twist in vibe for the ending of this episode, but some things have to be said. And yeah, so the explicit pages won't be coming. Okay, it's not happening. Bye. That's another episode down the drain. Goodbye.